Hello, Payne County. It's Father Brian O'Brien. I'm here in the studio of Stillwater Radio. I'm here with Father Kerry Wakulich. You know him. You kind of love him. He's the pastor of St. John Catholic Student Center. You should go there if you are a college student.
Agree.
I, on the other hand, am and my illustrious associate pastor, Father Robert Duck. We pastor the people of St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church on the west side. West side is the best side.
Oh, stop. That's what they have in
What
West
are you?
Tulsa.
What part of town are you in? What would you call that? You're by campus.
I'm a mid-towner.
You're Midtown Stillwater.
I'm Midtown Stillwater. I'm
by the stadium.
I'm just on the fringe of the downtown district, like right on the cusp.
But like we're both, kind of with major Tulsa, and that's how, like in Tulsa, it's like, oh, you live in North Tulsa, South Tulsa, East, West.
East Tulsa the
you're
best.
East
I'm
side.
in East Tulsa, 31st
But
and
then
129th.
I've spent, I lived at like Christ the King and St. Mary. Those are like midtown. Anyway,
I think I've lived all over the city of Tulsa except South Tulsa. I've never lived.
I'm on the personnel board. You want a new assignment?
Whoa, come on. I've lived in North Tulsa a number of occasions.
Bixby, St.
Bixby.
Bernard's.
Ooh.
Don't say you don't want to, because then you're going to go there, and then
I want to be here all.
And then all your people are going to be like, he didn't even want to come here.
I know. Don't put me.
I'm on the personnel board. I'm not in charge of the personnel board. There is one person and one person only who makes the moves.
The Holy Spirit?
Bishop David Conderla. He makes the moves.
Oh, yes.
What, is your building project done?
No. I'm out raising
How's that
money.
going? You've raised a lot of money lately.
We're at $17 million.
Boom.
Yes.
Boom. All right.
This building is gonna
The other
happen.
day, we had our priest group, and we were watching. We watched the movie Real Genius.
I love it.
Which was made in the year 1985. It's hilarious. It's just so dang funny, that movie. Anyway, and I was looking. I do this, and it annoys my my priest group.
Let me guess. Let me guess what you do.
While we're watching a movie, I'm on my phone, like looking stuff. I like to look up.
Interesting.
Yeah, how much did it cost to be made? Where, like film locations. It's like at a college. What college is that?
Correct.
I find it makes the movie more interesting.
The formula that's on that guy's T-shirt.
Yeah, and then like who? Oh, that guy was also in this movie or that. There's like
Karate
a guy
Kid.
The guy was in Karate Kid.
Yeah,
that's super interesting to me. Anyway, so I looked it up, and that movie cost $8 million to make. And I thought, geez, Father Kerry, you could make 2 Real Genius movies. Or 3 instead of building a church.
Yes, a legacy. My legacy would be he made some really great movies with synthesizers and cool hair, and did not build
the 80s.
You
kids don't even know what you missed.
Yeah, so this church, it's gonna happen May 7th. May 7th, it's coming down, and we're that's a Thursday.
Yeah,
a Thursday.
Yeah,
and.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you anybody out there in Radio Land, whether you're on this planet or another, go to buildingsaints.com and check it out.
Check it out.
We have donors that are doing a matching gift up to $500,000 now. So they've given $500,000 and they haven't given it. Whatever we raise,
that's amazing.
A penny to $2,500 they match.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, so we're gonna honor all the people who have donated. We're in our parish hall, our hoftorium. You can see all the drawings online. There's gonna be a wall, and there's gonna be a big, awesome eagle painted on that wall for St. John the Evangelist.
Oh,
and then we're gonna write
I see
the names.
what you did there.
We're gonna write the names of all the people who have donated.
Oh.
So even people that
people get to write their names.
No, we're gonna wite their names.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I want to write my own name.
It would be
illegible.
That's what I was going to say. I almost said illegitimate, but
what?
illegitimate.
Did a second grader gave money? Oh, no, that's
yeah. Plus we have to get it all on the same bird.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
There it is.
So it's November, mid-November. We are approaching Thanksgiving, approaching the end of the semester for those of you who are OSU students or professors or work for the university.
Yeah, the semester is almost a month from being done.
So yeah, school's going to get out, but the semester, yeah. I said that the other day. There was a student and they were like, No, it doesn't end. Like we still have finals.
Yes.
But the sort of in-person classes go.
But students are coming back. They're coming back to town in droves afterwards because the dorms are not shutting down because
Doesn't that defeat the purpose? They're all going to go home with COVID and then bring it back?
I was not elected president of the university this year. I tried. I ran.
I don't know all the ins and outs. I won't. I'll refrain. I'll refrain from judgment because I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Exactly. But maybe something you do know about.
Here's what I was thinking was we might talk about this time of year outside of COVID. Right, we start preparing for Christmas. So, for example, Father Robert and I had a little meeting this morning, and we picked out the Christmas readings because there's all these options for Christmas Mass. Last week we finalized our Christmas Mass schedule. Usually we have 5 masses.
I have 0
in and around Christmas, but this year we're going to have 7 so that people can spread out.
Wow!
Christmas Eve 4, 6, 7:30. 10 p.m. in Spanish. Christmas Day, midnight, 7 a.m., 9 a.m.
Whoa. Do I get one of those?
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Have you already assigned me a mass?
No. I actually do want to. I'm a collaborative.
Like midnight and 7 a.m.
I'm a collaborative leader. I don't just do things like that. I get people's input. And then you're going to also hear a lot of confessions.
Huh?
That's I hope. Can you?
Oh, sure I can.
That would be great.
In English or Espanol, cualquiera ustedes.
So around Christmas, a lot of people come to church who don't regularly come to church.
Oh, yes.
And there's sort of 2 schools of thought on that. My school of thought is fantastic. You don't usually come, and then you come on Christmas. I'm really glad you're there. Now, do I wish you come more often? Yeah,
one of my favorite things about people. I love it when people come back to Mass at Christmas time. It's like, come back and stay. Come back, stay longer than just a weekend. I love it when they disturb the people who are well formed in their ways. So like, and that person is sitting in my seat. I'm like, no, you don't.
Well, and that's the beauty of the Christmas Mass schedule. It's like, we usually have Mass at 5 o'clock, 8:30, 11:15, and 1 o'clock. None of those are Christmas Mass times. There's none. So somebody said, I always go to the 5. Oh, really? Well, there's
not one this year.
There's no 5. There's 4, 6, 7:30, 10.
What about the midnight?
Midnight? Oh, yeah. But there's no usual, like on a Sunday, we don't have a midnight Mass.
Right.
So I think I would like for us to speak to perhaps people who might be listening who are Catholic, but who do not regularly come to church. I think we get a lot of times, I've run into people over the years, thanks be to God, that I've been able to help to come back to the practice of their faith. And it's actually not that hard to do. I think a lot of times there are people maybe who haven't been to church in a year, 5 years, 20 years, and they think that there's like some big process of like coming back, and there's really not.
Like there's a formal thing in a book that says this is what you got to do in order to come back.
Right, and really it's I'm going to just make the argument. I think it's two steps.
Oh, a dance move.
If you've not been to church in a long time, and have a desire to come back, and so this is true here in Stillwater. This is true for anyone listening anywhere. And here it is. Go to confession, and then come back. Or, in reverse order, come back, like come to Mass. Come to Mass, and then go to confession. Like, do those 2 things in either order. Now, I would go, speaking sacramentally, speaking as a pastor, I would encourage people to go to confession before anyone can come to Mass anytime, but not everyone ought to receive Holy Communion.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I would say go to confession before you receive Holy Communion.
Oh, okay.
If you're not yet ready to go to confession, maybe you need a little time, then come to Mass, but don't go to confession.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think in both of our cases at our parishes, on Sundays especially, we offer confessions before Mass and even sometimes during Mass. And so that's it. Like, that's how you come back. If you are a Catholic, if you were baptized as a Catholic or at some point in your life received into the church, you are a Catholic. There's not, I don't know, sort of degrees of Catholicism. I mean, there's levels of sort of practice and faithfulness. I don't know, but there's no like chart that we get in the seminary of like, okay, oh, he's a 7. Okay, I need all the 10s over here and all the 1s. There isn't that. There's the church and there are members of the church, and so if you're a Catholic who has not really been to Mass, go to confession and come. Am I right there? Am I off?
Right. Yeah, I do like it.
Am I oversimplifying it?
No, I mean, it's pretty darn simple.
Yeah.
And
I don't think a lot of people know that.
Well, the reason why, I mean, you didn't just make that up. I mean, you go back into the early church,
It's been that way,
and
yeah.
guys are like the monks or the religious or whoever the men and women in the church are, and people ask them, I've been out soldiering for the last 5 years, and I've lost my faith. How do I get back? And they would say, well, go back to Mass.
Yep.
And begin your prayer life again.
Yep.
And go to the Sacrament of Confession. And that's how one gets back. I know it's like, I guess even in like my situation, it's Veterans Day was this past week, and I was kind of reflecting upon like my life in the
Father
military.
Carey spent 6 years in the Air Force, if you did not know that.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
No, I thanked you.
Oh.
I've never served in the military.
Thank you for thanking me.
You're welcome.
Isn't that odd moment where somebody thanks you for something and then you're like, but I thank you. I appreciate your thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And it was when I came back from deployment, sometimes, we didn't have Mass for a couple months. Or there was no Catholic church in the country we were in.
Which is not your fault.
Which is not your fault. But you sort of get out of practice. Like you forget about that it's Sunday sometimes, or you're off doing other things and you just kind of forget about a life of prayer, or this job that has sort of taken your life is now not just, Monday through Friday, sort of 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's
a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's Saturday to Saturday, 12 to 16 hours a day. And so you start to forget about your Christian faith for a while. And
that happened to you?
Yeah, it happened. Oh. And then when you come back from it, you're like,
oh, am I allowed? Am I allowed to come?
You get to your first Sunday and you're like, I totally missed Sunday. Or you just lose track of days when you come back and like what each day is for. And you sort of have to like put them back into a proper order of just order of life. And then after you put them back in the proper order of life, you say, I need to go, I haven't been to Mass in a while. That's kind of like basically like week 3 or 4. You're like, I haven't been to Mass in 6 months.
Yep.
Because we've been in a country where there was no Catholic churches. Or there was no priests.
Yeah.
The military doesn't have enough priests to go.
So that's probably I think there probably are people who maybe have moved recently. They for whatever reason they've gotten out of practice. It wasn't like I think for a lot of people it was not like a conscious choice. They didn't say, all right, this is the last Sunday I'm going to Mass. I think there are some people who do that, unfortunately, but I think for a lot of people, there's a kind of a lukewarmness sets in, and you get out of the habit. Some people do it when they go to college. I mean, you see that all the time.
Yes.
They come to college and they never their sport, their fraternity or sorority, their homework, their social life becomes more important, and they just never get in the practice. So there's that, and then I a lot of people that I've known forever. They move somewhere. You just get out of the practice, and so when you have that kind of moment, and maybe listening to this is your moment. Like when you decide, like, oh my gosh, like I'm missing I'm missing that. We're going to do during Advent, we're going to do kind of a theme at the parish of, you need the church and the church needs you. Right?
Yeah, brother.
And that's we're thinking kind of more COVID related, of like people who have just sort of dropped off the map because of the pandemic. But there's a desire, in every human heart. St. Augustine said, "Our hearts are restless until they rest in you, O God." We need God. And where do we find God? We find God at church and other places, but the church is where he's most properly worshipped and adored. But people just fall out of practice. And so this is basically just an invitation to whoever's out there. You just walk in the door.
Correct.
We don't check IDs. There's no measure of, now if we see someone we haven't seen in a while and we pay attention to you, it's because we haven't seen you in a while, right?
Yes,
Take that as an act of love that we've missed you.
Just this past week, I had lunch with a college student, and I said after Mass on Sunday, I called him over because he was walking out the door. He was walking around the corner. I yelled at him and invited him over, and I said, "Let's grab lunch this week." And he said, he was kind of caught off guard. He's like, "Oh, okay, Father. I've never had a lunch with a priest before." Now, in my mind,
it's a lot like lunch with other people.
Yes. In my mind, I know nothing about this student. I've only met him twice. He showed up with some friends a few weeks prior to that. One of his friends that's a gal who's a college student invited him to Mass. And he was like, okay. So
he's Catholic, this guy?
He came on Wednesday night. So we're in the middle of lunch chatting. Come to find out he's been to Catholic school all his life.
Oh.
And it was interesting that he just got out of the practice of going to Mass.
Yep.
And when he came to college, he got out of the practice of going to Mass. He just, it's at one point in time, his parents stopped going. So he stopped going.
Yep.
And then it just...
The reasons are many.
And so it was just just an invitation to his friend. They were having a beer at the pub in Stillwater. And she said to him, "Hey, I'm going to Mass tonight at 9:09 p.m. You want to go?" And he goes, "Okay.
I'm going to down this beer and then go to Mass."
Exactly. So they had a beer and then they came to Mass. And I was like, golly.
So he would not have gone if not for her invitation.
And he walks by St. John 5 to 7 times a day.
Yeah, it's not I think people's problems is not, not problems, but like people not coming to Mass. It's not like, I don't know, I've been looking around and there's no Catholic churches, right? I mean, in Stillwater, there are many. We have this awesome thing, the internet, like Google Catholic Church Stillwater, and like church, your church and my church, but it pops up,
Yours pops up more than mine does because people make
better.
It is, and people make pilgrimage to it.
Yeah.
But that's going to change. That's going to change.
We're on the list of like cool things to do in Stillwater.
Are you really?
It's like I think it's on TripAdvisor, something like that. We're like top 15. I think we're number 11.
I hear number 10 is the Bug Museum that closed down. Also,
the Bug Museum, also known as our back porch.
The car attacked by a cardinal this week.
We'll tell that story later. But it's not a lack of availability. I mean, there are churches. So this gentleman who walks by, but for some people there's a barrier there about walking in the door. And what I love about your parish and kind of the number. I mean, there's a lot of students there all the time. For me on Sundays, we're adding a Mass. Temporarily, we're adding a 7 a.m. Mass because Sunday mornings there's too many people. We can't spread out enough. These are good problems to have. When you come, you're not. I would say this: at every Sunday Mass that I've celebrated since I moved to Stillwater, somebody is there for the first time in a long time.
Cool.
Somebody is there.
I love it.
Sometimes for the first time ever. And so it's not like there's 500 people who all know each other, and then you walk in, and they're all staring at you, and there's none of that. And in fact, what you're going to find at both places, you're going to find people standing at the door who say, "Hi, good morning, welcome." You're going to find, if these are the barriers that, one barrier is, okay, I've sinned majorly. Okay. Both parishes, we offer confessions all the time. One barrier might be, I don't want everybody staring at me. Nobody's going to stare at you. One barrier might be, I forgot how. Like, how do you go to Mass? In both places, yours and mine, you're going to come in and there's material there to help you go to Mass. Maybe it's in a different, I only speak Spanish, or we got you covered. So there's all kinds of excuses, and I think if you're listening to this, examine your own conscience and think, why have I not been going? What is that? And then let's work on that. Let's knock down whatever. I don't know where the Catholic Church is. Look it up. I don't. I've kind of been off the rails. Okay, come talk to one of us.
Exactly.
Or go up, show up anonymously for confession. And when you go to confession, then go to Holy Communion. Like, it's not that complicated.
Right.
We try to make it easy to come back to the Lord. Does that sound right?
Yeah. This is a great time of year to do that too, because there's like everything around us is saying, "Hey, the Lord is arriving. The Lord is arriving. Renewal. Come on, come back to the Lord." So this Advent season, Adveniri, that it's about to be upon us,
which starts the last Sunday of November,
right? Is telling us, come back to the Lord. And so there's this like movement in our hearts. The Lord is the Lord is giving us an invitation. So it's a great moment to just go and to walk in and say, okay, Lord, you have inspired me to be here for some reason. I've not gone for weeks or months or years, and now I'm back. So Lord, help me to joyfully be here. And I think, sometimes we you just kind of, I think you low-key mentioned it there, is like sometimes there's this, people are going to recognize me. Okay, well, one, right now people are wearing masks. So even students I've known for the last 5 years, I have to ask them who they are.
I see people all the time, and I'm like, "What's your name?" And they're like, "Father, it's me." I'm like, "Oh,
who's me?"
Sorry. Or they'll like pull their mask down, and I'm like, "Oh, now put your mask back on."
Yeah. The second thing is, it was the year of 2011 when we got the new missal.
Yes.
There was a funny moment there when you could tell everybody who had not been to Christmas Mass so far, because we had been telling everybody, and with your spirit, and with your spirit. And the previous translation was, and also with you. And so people showed up for Mass, and
that threw some people.
The Lord be with you. And you could hear, and also with your spirit. It was just these funny moments where if you, like Father O'Brien said, if you realize, like, I haven't been to Mass, I don't know what's going on, this is the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Go somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
Find a spot somewhere in the middle. Yeah. That's like whenever we have students that are not Catholic show up, I say, this is what I want you to do. I have no idea what I'm doing, Father. It's like, I know, I got you. I want you to go to the sixth row from the front. And you'll be in the midst of everything going on, but also there's these people in front of you. Just do what they do.
Yep. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, don't sit in the front row. And don't sit in the back. I mean, that's a lot of people go right to the back. I mean, yeah, go right in the middle of stuff.
Right.
I think the other barrier for some people is I don't have anyone to go with. We hear this sometimes, I think especially kind of among young adults who are wanting to practice their faith more, but maybe they just moved here, they haven't quite found a social. It's very helpful to just to invite some people, get some other people together, and go together and say, look, all right, we're all going to meet in front of the church. Okay, Mass is at 11:15. We're going to meet in front of the church at 11:05, and then we're going to go in together and we're going to sit together, right? Those are all things that can sort of ease that anxiety of, I'm going, by myself or whatever that may be. Let me offer. I want to offer two resources. One is a website called Catholics Come Home.
Oh yeah, that's a great website.
Catholics Come Home.
The commercials are really cool.
Is really, really good. So check that out. And what it does is it's meant for Catholics who haven't been practicing their faith for a whole bunch of reasons, and it'll walk you through. Maybe it's a marriage issue. Maybe it's just you got lukewarm. Maybe you moved. Maybe the church, somebody in the church has offended you or hurt you in some way, big or small. There's all kinds of reasons. But anyway, Catholics Come Home is good. And then the other one, this is not really a resource, more sort of advice, and that's for those of you who are Catholic and are practicing your faith. This is a time of year to invite. But I want to give the advice that I heard from Monsignor Fletcher of blessed memory, who used to be the pastor at Christ the King, who I've never met. So it's Monsignor Fletcher to Dick and Trish Sherry to me. And that
to the cleaners.
What people need, people who are maybe having some anxiety or people who are maybe have a desire to come back, what they need is light, not heat. Light, not heat. If you somebody in your life and they've been out of the church or away from the church for 10 years, and you say to them, You better go to Mass this Sunday, and if you don't, then you'll go to hell.
Oh,
right? Heat. That's heat.
Oh, come on.
How about an invite? How about you send them a text? How about you call them and say, "Hey, I'm going to Mass this Sunday. You want to come with me, and we'll get some lunch after." Right? Light, not heat. What many people need is just an invitation, a kind, joyful invitation. And hopefully that's what Father Carey and I have been giving you for the last 27 minutes.
I hope so.
A kind and joyful invitation. We want you there. We need you there. You need church, and the church needs you.
Yeah.
And so let's make this, as we get into close November, as we get into the season of Advent, let's make this a time of renewal, a time of return, a time of coming back to the faith. Come to Mass, go to confession. Go to confession, come to Mass, and just jump back.
Eucharist, you forgot. Hey, go to Holy
Communion. Yeah.
I another one I think is it's hard to forgive people in the church. Maybe that's a reason why.
For sure.
I someone said, Father, and I actually felt really bad about this. They said, Father, I didn't go to church all semester because you scared me when I first got here. I was like, what? And they're like, you're just intense. And just
you
talk.
Should try living with him.
I know. I have an intense, high energy.
I can see that
personality.
I mean, you walk in the door and you're,
and I'm like, hey, how are you? And they're like, as my spiritual directors told me, he goes, Carey, remember, you are the 2%ers. And I was like, what do you mean 2%ers? Like, there's only 2% of the people in the world quite like you.
Carey, I want to tell you this. There are some really good decaffeinated brands on the market.
So there may be people that have offended you, or the church has offended you, or the church has done something wrong, and we can't. I
don't let that be. I mean, I think don't let that be
the grudge hold, holding a grudge. Okay, I'm not going back because of this and this and this.
And it could be something very serious, but still, I think don't deprive yourself of the great gift of the Eucharist. Mm-hmm. That has to be paramount. It has to be central,
right,
in our lives. And I think when you walk into the church, when you look around, what you're going to see are a bunch of sinners, including the priests,
yes,
including the deacons, including the musicians, and so it's not like there's all these perfect people and then you walk in and everyone's like, oh great, they're going to ruin it. Right? You're joining in with fellow sinners. And what's the first thing that we do in Mass is the priest says, brothers and sisters, let us acknowledge our sins.
Yes.
So right out of the gate, we're recognizing that we're sinners. So come back.
Baby, come back. Woo! You can blame it on me. Sorry.
We want to see you. So come back to Mass. This Sunday, confession, Mass, confession.
Eucharist.
It's going to be awesome. And we hope you have a great week. God bless you.
Peace.